Can you give this another minute, or you want?
Well, this is the 565 stuff, so we can get them. You can send the PowerPoint to them.
Good evening, everyone. It is time to begin our work session. We're going to call the first item on the agenda is CIP updates, and I think we're going to begin with a presentation from AECOM.
This evening.
Good.
Peachy. You still use this?
Is it on? Is the remote on?
It was, but I think I turned it off.
Yes, sir. There you go.
Red one? Okay. Again, I'm here to give you guys an update on your town Madison interchange project.
I'm sorry, can you talk into the microphone, because there are people.
You can look back here, and then we can see there, so it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at the point that way. So, I'm going to give you guys an update on your town Madison interchange project. It's probably been 4 or 5 months since I've been up here, and I appreciate the opportunity. You guys know your project, but just as a reminder, we're on phase 2 of the interchange. Phase 1 was built previously, led to construction in August 2022. Successful contractor was a joint venture between McInnes and Miller Miller. Contract amount $37 million and change, 724 calendar days, so a 2-year project. Notice to proceed in January of 2024, so just over a year ago. Anticipated completion January 2025, so we're 12 months out from completion, and to date we're on schedule. Any time beyond that January 2025, it's 3,000 a day in liquidated damages. And right now we're right on 50% complete, both in time and dollars. We're 12 months in, and we're at 18.7 million to date. So things are going pretty well. You guys have seen these before, but just to make sure we're all on the same page. You know, here's your interchange, here's the stadium, here's ramps A and B that were built previously, ramps C and D that are being built now. Most of the time, over the next few minutes, I'll talk about these areas here, which is if you've been out there lately, these are the only areas that have not begun and are not substantially complete. Those are the areas of the steel bridges and the work in the median of 565. Again, another visualization. Here's ramp A that's under traffic, ramp D that's currently in construction, and then there's the flyover bridges to and from the ramps and the development. This is another visualization with standing on ramp D, basically with the stadium behind you. You know, all this is constructed. This is for the most part constructed, and then this is the gap right now, including these columns in the medians here, and that's coming up in the next phase of construction that I'll touch on here in just a little bit. Another visualization, that's ramp C. The concrete here, this is where construction has already happened, and all this is in the future. This column here has been constructed as well, so the only 2 columns remaining are the ones in the median, which is here, and then the one for ramp D, which is up the roadway just a tad. And here's some current pictures. So here's standing in the interstate looking at ramp C. Here's all your MSE walls. Here's one of your bridge columns. You know, the ultimate steel structure will sit here. Here's all the, walls associated with, all the barriers associated with the walls. Here's looking down the ramp. I believe all this has been paved. I think this picture's maybe a week old, and all this has been paved. So that's looking back towards Huntsville, down 565. I guess that would be westbound. Here's a little further down the ramp. Here's the paving that's gone in. Here's the gore area that'll be between the ramp C, and the interstate. And here's just a smart level that we use to check the cross slopes on the new pavement. And this is not the finished pavement. There'll be a wearing surface on top of this. Here's looking at ramp C, which is on the south side of the interstate, but you're looking from the north. So here's all the concrete girders that have gone in. Here's the ultimate ramp D that goes under the second span here. And then here's looking north. So you're back across, basically standing on top of ramp A, looking down at ramp C. And there's D, and here's the 3 spans on ramp C. This is the current state of ramp C. This is not critical path work at this time, so the contractor is just kind of doing it as he can. These are the decks, so this is all the deck pans, all the rebar. Ultimately, the concrete bridge deck will go on top of this with your barrier rail laterally, obviously on this side here. I apologize for the poor picture, but here's the current state of ramp D. So this is the ramp that'll come out of the interchange, or I'm sorry, out of the development on the 565 westbound. The paving is up, all the walls are up, all the columns are up, so getting really near to the finish stage here. So let's talk about the steel structures. We designed a structure that will work when it's ultimately constructed under traffic. So it's just the ultimate configuration. We designed that. It's the contractor's responsibility to submit to us his plan to build the structure, any temporary shoring associated with his construction, so on and so forth. So those have been submitted. They've been approved by us. Each one of them was about 100 pages of diagrams and calculations and so on and so forth. So here's this is not y'all's girders, but this is a typical fab shop girder fabrication. They're formed up in the shop and they're tested and everything's surveyed to make sure it's correct. So the blues here would be the bridge supports, and then the red is the steel structure. In this case, this one and this one have been built, and then this one will be built in the next phase, which is phase 4, which is coming up to start next week. Here's the same kind of view, but it's ramp D. So this is the one that comes out of the development and goes to 565 westbound. And again, this is constructed, this is constructed, this is coming up, and this is constructed. So these are, I think that spans 265 feet, and this one's 200. So those are some really long span structures. So here's a little sampling of what they submit us. So in this diagram, this is 565 westbound, eastbound. Here's the existing supports that are built here and here. This one will be built in phase 3. And then this is temporary shorings. So this is temporary construction towers that will be built out there. Here's two more. These are steel girders that have already been put in. And in this case, all he's trying to show is here's his 2 cranes. Here's a portion of the steel structure that is delivered by truck and picked directly off of the truck onto these temporary structures here and the permanent structure here. This will be done under traffic for the most part, but that's what he's trying to show in this phase. And this is the latter phase. This will be one of the phases where traffic is going to be shut down on the interstate. We'll talk about that in just a second. And it'll be detoured to Madison Boulevard. I'm sorry. So in this case, he's picking girders to set in what's left here. What's interesting here is it's going to look odd, but there will be a time when, if you're traveling 565 eastbound, there'll be girders that are cantilevered over the interstate, and it's going to look odd, but that's the way it was designed. And it'll be sitting on temporary structures here and then permanent structures there. This is also part of his plan. The only thing in this plan that'll be remaining when he's done will be these 5 steel girders. All this is temporary shoring. You've got timber piles, you've got temporary steel structures here, and he will lift these up. These are chains that'll be anchoring it down while it's attached to the next segment. Here's just a little more detail. This is ramp D. Again, existing to be built in phase 3. In this phase, we'll have 565 eastbound shut down while he's picking and putting up girders, in the median over the interstate. Here's just another view. So in this one, he's erected all this. These are temporary, obviously, permanent, and then he's completing the construction of ramp D. Here's just a sample as well of some of his rigging that has to be approved. All the connections have got to be approved. All the splices, all the cables got to be approved. That'll support the load. So critical path next 6 months. Traffic shifts probably Monday evening. We'll shift traffic. Right now, traffic is on the the inside of 565. Monday evening, we'll probably shift traffic to the outside to facilitate that median construction. We'll probably have a press release associated with that, so we'll get with you guys on that. And then median work, lighting installation has already started, but it'll ramp up in the next week or so. The ramp C and D steel structures that we talked about, and then the bridge decks. So he's still got a large portion of the concrete bridge decks to pour, and then all the decks associated with the steel structures. Signage, a lot of signs going out there, sign bridges, directional signs, and then the finished paving. So here's phase 2B that we're in currently. So like I said, traffic is shifted towards the median to facilitate this outside work. Next phase, which again will probably be Monday night, will be here where we're working primarily in the median. Both eastbound and westbound will be transitioned to the outside, and the work zone will be in the median. And then we'll have phase 5, which will be, anytime you have to shut down the interstate, which will be leaning on you guys to help with traffic control on that, but it'll be, here's the limitations of that. Sunday through Thursday, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And we'll have traffic on the Waltran and the adjacent interchanges. And, they shouldn't be closed the entire night, but when they are, we'll give you guys notice, and it'll just be one direction at a time. So that's quick, but y'all got any questions, comments?
Just wanted to ask, could we go back to the very first slide? That's not.
Probably easier way to.
I just wanted to write down those dates again. It looked like from what I saw, you're like right on schedule, halfway, and I just wanted to write down the completion date, which I think was January 2025.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, we're at 50-50 on time and dollars. That's more a coincidence than anything. It should be close, but it's just a coincidence, honestly. Well, I mean, we vary some, but it's just a coincidence.
I'm going to geek out for a second, but you mentioned cantilevered beam across the interstate. What's your margin of safety on that?
Margin of safety?
Yeah.
In design, we always have a factor of safety from 1.5 to 2.
Yeah.
So
margin of safety usually is 1 is your 0 on your safety factor.
Sure.
And above that, you're at safety or above. So what's your safety factor?
1.5 to 2 on structures in general.
Okay.
And again, that's contractor design that we approved, and I'm not a structural engineer. We have to be able to do that, but from what I recall, it's 1.5 to 2 as far as our factor of safety on that.
Okay. When you said cantilever, that made me a little weird.
Sure, absolutely. And it's going to look odd. We had a case in Birmingham where this was a case, and it looked strange coming through it. It looked like something wasn't quite right, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Was that the I-22?
Yeah, it's the Border X.
I was waiting for a car to come off every time.
Yeah, there was a substantial contractor claim associated with that, and
really,
we learned on that one and did some things differently on this one. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the detail. Hey, can you throw me the clicker, please? Sure. Thank you.
We appreciate you not throwing it in and handing it.
I can catch.
The last thing we need is another clicker to bite the dust.
That's all right. All right.
Okay,
And Mayor,
hand out the team.
Yes, I have yours too. I had your two on this side right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as we go to the agenda, a couple of things. First, Council, Michael's already given you a sheet that updates all of the projects as of 1/9/24. So what I'm going to do is go through the projects that are in Fund 38, which are a majority of the projects that we've talked about, and we'll just go through it. I guess you can ask questions anytime. Hopefully we can get, as you'll see, if we go all the way through it, I can go all the way back to the first one again if need be. Let Maura find her one project. That's why I don't hand it out until the end. So, and then we've got a couple of things that are on the agenda that we're also going to go through, and then let you guys ask any questions you have. And then again, if there's projects that we don't have in Fund 38, but you need Michael's support on, he can help you with that. I want to start by thanking Samantha. You know, we lost all of last week getting a lot of this ready. And so last 3 days, she's put a ton of time in to get this ready. Roger had already given us a ton of this information on the front end, so that helped. And then this crew over on the far side has been adding maps and graphics and data over the course of the last couple of days to pull it all together. So a lot of people that worked hard to get it to you guys. I'm really excited about where we are. So each one of these projects you'll see, let's just start with this one. What is on your sheet is the Celtic Drive Fire Station. You'll see the budget for that was $250,000. Size of the project. For this, we then transfer this over. It's really going to be the Celtic Drive complex. A lot of that money has not been spent because right now it is Fire Station 4, and that will not change until the, what is 23A, but our Madison annex over in Hexagon is completed. So we still have Fire Station 4 here. We put a box up there. We've had Mara leading the charge, but others say, hey, are we in a position where we finally need to move animal control? Where it's a box right now, if given the approval, and we'll talk about here in a little bit, this is where, from our standpoint, talking to Gerald and team, this is where we would put it, close to the road. It's on the north side of that complex. So what's the next steps? Well, I think one of the biggest things that's going to come out of this is Gerald, in his budget, has already ordered racks that go in a building that's already existing to support a lot of the inventory that we have in different locations. We are not putting a hard stop on council purchasing more Christmas inventory, but that's only because we're going to be able to move it over here and store it along with the Toyota field inventory that we have, so other seats, other poles, those kind of things, our library inventory. And then right now we have about $6,000 to $7,000 of files that are kept off-site because we don't have room for them in different locations, and we'll be able to bring all of that in. So all of that will be completed in the next couple of weeks. When it comes to that square that we're looking at that could be animal control, a couple pieces that come into that. Right now we can buy a prefab building, but that prefab building then has to be specially designed to support what Chief needs and his team need for supporting the animals. You have to get water and gas and all the kind of stuff that needs to occur there. So right now we estimate the cost to be somewhere between $100,000 and $175,000. We won't know that until we actually are able to design it, and Gerald would lead that. On top of that, you guys gave us about a month and a half ago the approval to get an appraisal on the Sullivan Street property. That's the old fire station complex on Sullivan. That appraisal came in right at $350,000. So I say request council approval, and we only have 4 of you, but our idea, if we're going to transition animal control from over here over there, is we as a team do not see the need to keep the property there on Sullivan. We would look to sell that. Whether we can get full appraised value, we have people that are interested with additional housing that's down through there, which is the better use for that. So we would look to give Brian the ability to put the legal aspects in place to put that on the market and eventually sell that. In doing so, the next steps for animal control would be to give Gerald the ability, and I say using an architect, but also just any of the things that, just like he did for building the 23A or the complex over in Hexagon, he just has to go get all the different components that go into, is it 100 or 175, and we won't know that until given the nod to go do that. And so I can stop there, but I said when it comes to this complex, that's what we're looking at right now. Once he's also moving some other pieces over there that just don't really have anything to do with it. And then the training facility, once we had the ability, this is where we would put the police and fire training facility that we would eventually look to do down the road.
I hate to interrupt you, but before we...
You were the one to say not even to do that.
I did, and I'm contradicting myself, but you said gas, and just for clarity, and before anybody says anything on social media, the gas would be for heating the building.
What were you thinking? Oh, yeah.
Not for anything with the animals.
Oh, no, we're not putting a gas station.
Oh, no, I don't
Dogs can't pump gas.
You don't believe... okay, how many emails have you got?
All right, stop. Come on, stop. Let's go. Okay, so we'll keep moving, but that's for that complex is kind of where we are. Let's keep going. Our community center, which...
give you that head nod?
I think I'm going to get through, and then anything we want to go back to. Yeah, okay. From a budget standpoint, the budget for that is $11,205,000 and change. We've spent $6.6 to date. Right now, the project balance on your sheet the council has approved is $4.5 million. The state has come through with $1 million, and so we've spent probably $250,000, which is where you get to the appropriated cash still in the bank is $747,000. MVP has fundraised to date via money and pledges $1.1 million. Madison County will finalize next week a pending donation of $1 million, which leaves the delta right now still to raise, which we haven't even sold the naming rights to the facility yet, of 1.7. In talking with Roger and talking with Connie as far as finance share, where would you make sure that you have the money to complete it? And right now we have $3.2 million sitting in the bank that we have stowed in there for the Highway 72 expansion, which unfortunately for our community and others is at least 4 years out. So what we all feel we can do is use that money to complete this project, and as the fundraising comes in, the Madison County or any of the other donations that come in, it goes back into the pot to replenish the Highway 72 piece. And so I'll keep going, and then we can come back and get head nods or whatever we want to from there. This is on, and we'll go back. So then what I did for each one of these is next steps. It's about 55% complete. We're still looking to open it in August of 2024. We've made solid progress on the owner-supplied equipment and furniture that is needed for that facility. It's brand new. We want it to look brand new. But some of the examples that we can use that will help us, we're going to be able to move the kitchen equipment over from the senior center. We're going to be able to move the pool tables and a lot of that stuff. We've been able to surplus a lot of furniture from basically the hexagon facilities. And then, again, we're still in, and the gym equipment that's already at the hexagon, we can hone some of that and put it in there. So we're well on our way to making sure that it is stocked in the professional way that we want it when we open up a brand new building. In addition, we want to add parking across the street and the connection of that to the Bradford Creek Greenway. And working with our Public Works team as it dries up, we'll look to get that done in the late spring of 2024 and have it ready when the community center opens. All right, keep going. We can always go back to these. Fire Station 4 and Hexagon Building, we combine the two of those, that leaves 4.7. Again, when you get down to the bottom, it's actually 4.865 that's in the bank. Gerald and team, working with our two chiefs, have done a phenomenal job of defining need versus want, and then putting together a plan to utilize this facility and all 38,000 square feet. From a council standpoint, I'll use this over here. You can see over on the far, and it's, where do I gotta get? Right here. This square that's over here on the far northeast corner this is the end of the building, and we would use this for our two bays right now, eventually being able to put a third bay over here if needed. And then this aspect of where the building is where the rest of the fire station or the firehouse would be, again, very comparable in size to what's at Fire Station 3 right now, with a little bit different layout and some additional feedback from them that helps them. Down here on the bottom, where's my here? This training facility seats about 100 people, can be used for both police and fire. A lot of the classes that they have, it gives them far more room to get done what needs to be done, and they can bring folks in from other places, which is exciting. Future expansion here, storage for a lot of the stuff that these guys need here. Fire up on this side with the things that they need as far as training fire marshal, and then police down on the bottom side down here. So when we're next steps moving forward, engage the architect to kind of finalize the plans, and then in turn, Gerald's looking to get this moving forward and bid this in 2024 and feeling very comfortable that we can come in the numbers that we gave you guys to start with. 8 to 10 months to complete the office side of that, 14 to 18 months, as we've talked about before, to complete the fire station side of that project. On top of that, we've got the Hexagon Adult Sports Complex that includes the pickleball, the baseball, and the softball. Right now, there's about $500,000 left in the bank for that. The things that still are in and have been funded, and most of these you guys have approved and just have to be done, the field lights for the softball and baseball complex and the conduit that we talked about in last meeting or 2 meetings ago needs to be done. The fencing will be changed out. And then one of the neat things we're going to do is we're going to put a pathway from the public safety annex in 23A over here through those two baseball and softball fields, a path that's easy to get to the pickleball courts from that side, using that parking that we have over there, and to get to those baseball fields. And of course, what's not even really mentioned is there's a multi-use field over there that can be used. We'll light that with some solar lights, and we'll look to get that done by the summer of 2024. The Hardeman Roundabout is budgeted, and I'm just going to go straight. That's what it looks like. It's Hardeman as you go around the corner. If you go all the way to the west side, it turns into Madison Branch, going to where the new elementary school will be. The developer's responsible for this. City's paying monthly reimbursements, and right now it's currently about 65% complete. The Huntsville, Browns Ferry, and Burr Green Roundabout, estimated to be about 1.8. In turn, this is what it would look like on the right-hand side, coming from the east, going to the west on the left-hand side. In turn, we're looking to get the design. It's about 85% complete. The goal is to bid this in March of 2024, constructing this in the summer, again, doing everything we can to minimize the impact on all of the traffic that we know schools bring to that intersection, and boy, won't that make a big difference in that area. Hughes Portal and the mill signal upgrade. So right over here, well, I got a picture. So right here, a lot of folks trying to get from the east side over there, and a lot of the subdivisions that are over there, trying to get safely across to our network of sidewalks that can get you to the greenways, to Hughes Road, where you can go all the way up that way. So that entire project is, let me go back a minute, is estimated to be about $500,000. 60% complete, and of course it's adding a lot of the pedestrian safety functions that are needed to make that safe. The Mill Road Erosion Mitigation Project, budgeted at $3 million. There's about $3.35 million in there right now. Again, it's about 60% complete. I think it's actually a little bit more than that, but that's what it was as of 1/10. We're looking to bid that in March. Constructed this summer, again, with the focus on trying to minimize the impact on school and use it at the times when we're the least used. Pump House Road is a road that is just east of the intersection of Wall Triana and Gillespie. It's a $680,000 project. It's a joint Madison Utilities City of Madison project. It helps them with their transmission, and transmission is basically moving water.
Yes.
And drinking water. And in turn, what we are using it for is we have folks that are unfortunately, because of what's happening here, getting flooded, and so it helps us with that. The original bid came in too high, and so MU has gone back and making adjustments, and we'll rebid that down the road. The Royal Drive construction project is one that right now we have budgeted $1.5 million. We know it's probably going to cost a little bit more than that, but we wanted to get that in there to start. To give you a picture of what that does, because I think this is so critical for what we're looking to do from this city as far as another east-west connector, but also one that supports not only the citizens but our schools in a more effective way. So when you see the heavy dashed line that is over on, and I'll finally get to here's the light that we'll talk about in a minute on County Line Road, railroad tracks. Here's Royal Drive extension that gets you to Production Avenue, which is already there right now, and our FedEx facility that's there. This entire square is basically economic development, working with the developer, and that's what we're talking about that's in here right now is phase one. This is phase 2. It's not exact of where it would come. There's two things here that we have, the phase 1 of Royal Drive, and then this traffic light. So as I go forward, it's a partnership with the developer where they would construct it, we would reimburse it. Construction has not yet started, but we continue to also have discussions with our Madison City schools because this is something that helps them, and we're working with them on that. Budget for the signal is there's $535,000 in there, and it's about 90% complete. But again, we would start the signal when we know that we're going to do Royal Drive. Sunshine Oaks is one that we continue to be really excited about with a lot of the things that have been done. Project balance is at $515,000 on a $550,000 project, but we've got a lot coming. This is hard to see. So we're going to make it a little bit easier for you. So there's several steps that are going to be done, and we'll show that here in a second. So the first one is Public Works is in process right now of widening the road that comes into this off of Most Chapel, and then the part that you see that's on the bottom that's yellow is adding 96, how many, Michael-ish? 72 parking spaces there, right in front of that barn or right to the east of the barn. In addition to that, let's go make sure I get the right one. We're taking the barn. The part to the north is going to be used by facilities and grounds and recreation to store the equipment and the things that they need to maintain a lot of what's going on over here. But then we're going to take the sides off the part to the south, and it'll be an open pavilion. There's 2 other pavilions that you see in yellow that have already been ordered and that will be added on in this project. And just to make sure everybody can see, this right here is the Bradford Creek Greenway. And I want to make sure we don't highlight this, but this is a 10-foot path that would come off that greenway and take you here to the parking lot and so forth. The other thing that we're adding is the playground. We don't have a good picture of that, but that's the playground area. And then we're adding the bathroom right there for that. All that's going to be done, and we'll show you in a minute, as long as we can get through the rain by April. And then the last part that we'll do this summer is Public Works will come back in and finish another set of parking spaces. But then we also own a swath of 24 feet that we want to make and bring straight to Most Chapel to have an in and an out to make this as safe as we possibly can. In addition to that,
I'm sorry, is the barn used for storage? Is that what you said?
Part of the barn is. The north section of the barn, which I think is concreted, which gives you guys the ability to bring equipment in and out of that. It has doors that you can close off, and then we're working on making sure structurally we can take the sides off and then in turn open that up, put picnic benches in there, and make that something that's really neat. Also, this golf course is about 95% complete. Levon Wolf, who is the one who designed it, he says Hall of Fame Disc Golf because he's in the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. But he has finished this about 95% of the way, and it's already up and going. So to go back, just to make sure we recap, Public Works is in the process of the entrance widening and the parking lot build. The barn conversion, the addition of the pavilions and bathrooms, along with the playground, should be completed by April of 2024, and disc golf is about 95% complete. The Wall Triana Gillespie signal, which is right here, which kind of ties together with pedestrian access as we did over here, along with, that's already been awarded. They're waiting on final signatures, but it kind of overlaps with the Pump House Madison Utilities Transmission Project, so Michael's managing that, and if you needed any other information, could help you to make sure we properly get that coordinated. Wayfinding. We had a long discussion on that, and I think what we said is, Mary Beth, please go forward to see what a phase 1 of wayfinding, primarily focused on supporting our historic downtown area, would look like. So due to increased costs, you bid it once, it didn't come in the way we wanted it to. We revamped, you got a bid yesterday, and the low bid was $292,000 within the parameter of what is budgeted. The goal will be to bring you guys and get you this well beforehand so you can see what this would be, but bring it to the February 12th meeting for a nod or well, in this case, it's not a nod, it's an approval. It'll include 27 signs distributed throughout the city, and the estimated completion would be 6 months. If we were to go to a phase 2 or phase 3, they would be in the 25 and 26 FY budgets. Again, we'll have a lot more on that as we get ready for the next council meeting. And then I wanted to close this piece of it, and then I'll go back anywhere we want to go, with the actual, and again, these are directly from Roger, cash in hand that came in 2023. So just to recap, you can see we start at the top with sales tax and food and beverage taxes from Ball Corp, the business license, their liquor. Then you add the 2%, and then $1 passed in 2017 for all hotels, and then all lodging taxes for the first 3 hotels in town Madison. Then the lodging taxes of outside of town Madison, which then are added, and you go to the revenue, the basic license fee, performance license fee, so that was given, non-baseball events, parking, and then our portion of naming rights. The total of that, cash in hand, $3.437 million. And just to give everybody an idea, the bond payment for this year was $3.138. So, you know, one of the things we hear every once in a while is with the stadium, they're not paying their bills, they're behind on their bills, they're not doing their bills. Ball Corp is up to date with every one of their bills. Now, a lot of these, the revenue for 2023 was revenue from 2022, the 2022 year that was paid in 2023. This year will be the same. We'll get audited numbers. Garrett will be here at one of the next 2 or 3 council meetings to give you those audited numbers. I can tell you right now they're directly in pretty close correlation to what's already here from the numbers they had last year, and then we'll continue going forward. So, I think, hold on now, let me see. That's it. So let's go backwards. So let's go all the way back, because I know we want to have a discussion starting back here.
Paul, can you go back to the very first slide?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'm kidding.
That one? You want that one or you want this one?
Oh, I was kidding, actually.
Yeah, this is
I've
the
got
first
some
one
that I've got questions on, but...
Okay. Well, let's go back here and just start. So this would be where you would start.
Let's see. Yeah, so... Understanding that, excuse me, I understand what you had there. Is it fair to say that we would look to, if we decide to do that, fund that using the, you know, if we sell the old fire station, use those funds to build this, and then the surplus would go somewhere else?
That is absolutely our suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it gets you money that, you know, again, property that is we just don't need it anymore. It's valuable to others.
Yeah.
It in turn allows us to move this. You know, again, when I hear whether people are going to hear barking dogs, we were here first. With that said, it's not the best environment for our folks.
Sure.
You know, now we're not looking to we're not really making a whole lot larger footprint on this. We're not looking to be a shelter. We're looking to have a better place to make sure that animals are kept humanely using the system that we have, but also that we have the ability for safety for our folks and desks and things that they can do to manage that more appropriately.
Agreed.
Okay.
Anybody, I mean, I know I don't have to look at it. I know I got nods from you. But I think in this case, there's 2 things that we really kind of need a nod on. One is, if we're going to surplus, for no better term, the Sullivan Street property, Brian has to put that into legal requirements, and in turn, then we just put it on the market and offer it to the bidders, basically. And we think we know what it's come in at. And then the second part is Gerald has money in this budget to go back and utilize to figure out what's it going to cost, and is our number closer to 100,000 or 175,000? But we can't do that until we actually, hey guys, go forward and see if that's a good plan. Let's go make that happen. And so to me, that's the best way to do it. 2 over here, 2 over here. Okay. So we're going to move forward on that. Gerald, how much leeway does council have in purchasing additional Christmas inventory? I tell you, the stuff that you purchased, again, the most photographed place in North Alabama, but we're going to have a place for it to keep it for a while, and I think that's really positive. But the other part is the things that we just need to get stored. Okay, so that's that one. Any other questions there?
Thank you for not being a Grinch.
No, it's not a Grinch at all. Okay, community center, any questions here?
Let me go back real quick, though. So inventory, how confident are we that we know exactly what our inventory is and where it is? And the only reason I ask that is in my business, we have literally, I've seen people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just I don't know why, but it just happens.
Again, if you go back, I'm really comfortable on Christmas inventory and archive files. Mary Beth had both Toyota Field stuff and library inventory. You feel pretty comfortable that we still have what we've started with? Yep.
Other than the pieces that have been used periodically.
Okay. All right. Good question. I mean, that's, yeah. Okay. Community center, any questions here?
The scope that you mentioned on the subsequent slide, yeah. No, there was I think it was maybe it was that. Is that scope part of this additional 1.7 that you've got booked in, what's needed to complete?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. The 1.7 is not in addition to the 11.2. It's just the final funding of the 11.2.
Yeah, but that scope that you're talking about on the next page is the remaining scope, next steps at that 1.7 fund.
Yeah. Well, so let's go back. So when I go here, it's 55% complete. The other 45% would be the rest of the 11.2.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And then we are going to use Public Works to support the additional parking across the street and the connection.
Okay. Yep. I like what you said about, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't lay down a bet as to whether it's 4 years or 40 years before 72, but it's widened. But using those funds is maybe wise, I guess. I don't know. But certainly backfilling it with whatever excess donations come in. So we borrow from Paul to pay Peter. Peter's got to pay back Paul.
Well, I think it's where we're working with Roger, and then after we kind of came, we brought Connie in and just said, it makes so much sense to do it. It gets it done. It's still we won't stop until we get the rest of that raised. We still have a lot of opportunity, and we've got it started now, and that's the key. Some of the announcements that will come. I think we've got a press conference next week for a $250,000 donation. So there's a lot of good stuff happening. So we'll continue to stay on that, but it's the best utilization of something that we already have, and then replacing it. Man, I wish we could put out. I kind of quite honestly, I wish we didn't have it. In the sense of I wish 72 was already moving forward, but it's just not anytime soon. Okay.
Great.
Fire station and build out. So go into this. Any questions on the layout?
This will be where the evidence will be stored, so it's kind of away from...
Evidence is in that footprint someplace, absolutely. So it brings it over there in a much more efficient use for them. Investigations is set, all of that is just set up. Again, our chiefs have done a really good job of leading their teams to define what's needed, and then probably in some instances helping them understand what's wanted. So, and then Gerald's, working with our folks, just going through the different areas and using that. And Steve, I didn't mention Steve, but Steve's been a huge part of all of this and in helping to manage a lot of it. Storage is where the bay door is too, right? It's already there, so there's a lot of things that we just don't have to change. It's using the building the best possible way that we can, and moving forward with that. The rest of the sports complex, with the 3 things that need to be done, the lights, the fencing, and the pathway. Okay.
Corey, are you good with all that? That's all you need? Okay.
The roundabout, we don't have any, I mean, it's happening, so it's moving. Browns Ferry and Burgreen, Connie, you still think that's important? No, I'm just wondering. You know, again, that's one word.
Like oxygen, it's just important as oxygen.
I do want to ask, so the previous city engineer, did the same schedule, right? Let's do it during the summer, but they made the mistake to do a Snickers bar bet with me about a 2 or 3 month schedule, and that it would not go past that because, you know, everybody holds schedule. I see Gerald over there going, no, don't take it, don't take it. Oh, I want that it will not meet schedule. You'll not take that one? Dang it. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's the construction design or plan to mitigate that intersection closing? Because it's, I mean, there is no good way to get around it. No, I'm not saying close it. I'm not saying don't close it, but like what would be, what is that detour? Like if you're going down Browns Ferry, that intersection's closed, you either close Browns Ferry at whatever the westernmost road is for that neighborhood that's right there. And yeah, no, not Bellawood. I'm talking about before the intersection.
Heritage Province.
I'm saying if you're headed west, headed out of town, before you get to the intersection, I mean, you're gonna have to close it.
Arbor Woods and Heritage Province.
Yeah. Okay.
It almost sounds like around.
Okay.
So let's do this. And so we understand what you need. We'll start working on getting you that information.
Well, here's my main concern is we did a pretty good job last time of communicating what the detours were. Mm-hmm. The impact of this is going to be way more than that, so the amount of time we need to do ahead of time, you know, the amount of head warning.
Yeah, and my
biggest concern is making sure that we have time to communicate to the public way ahead that this is happening because of the amount of impact it's going to have.
Well, and we have every day we have more and more of our people coming out.
Yeah.
But Michael and I have talked about this several times, and he's done a really good job of explaining it to me, and I feel comfortable he's got a good plan. And so, but your point about getting the information out is well taken.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hughes and Portal, any questions there?
This is more, I guess a couple questions. More generic on just the...
Michael, why don't you come on up here, because this is exactly, please.
Yeah. I mean, just generic on all the signals. Are we upgrading them to have the, I don't know what the right word is, but the adaptive timing technology in it where it's actually the camera where it's looking at the cars coming and adapts it?
And you talking about this one specifically or in general, all the signals that we're doing? In most cases, yes, we're updating the detection as well. But a lot of the ones that we're doing, this one included, is more about pedestrian function. If you've ever tried to walk from here to Dave's Hardware during the day,
yeah,
there's
Frogger.
You have to be able to look 3 different ways at one time. So that's this has been a big ask from the community. So that's what this one got priority.
I got you. The only other question I had on this one is how is it 60% complete in the design phase if we haven't spent any on the project. And maybe that's because we funded it separately out of maybe that's.
Yeah,
build?
It's 0% built. There's not been any money spent built. There's been some money built on design, but it was paid out of engineering department budget.
Okay. So the budget for 500 is for the
construction,
building, not the design and construction. Okay.
The design on it is around $50K or less.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah, I understand.
Hey, don't go anywhere. Mill Road erosion mitigation. A little bit more than 60%, you said, maybe just a little bit, or still working through it?
Yes.
This is basically the backstop on the big ditch coming this way on Mill Road.
This is the Mill Creek ditch, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Pump House Road is one that, in conjunction with MU.
Yes, the $680,000 is to purchase the storm pipe for that project. It's going to be installed whenever they go to build it. Well, we've purchased the pipe, and this goes to our part of the construction. I don't know that the exact deals have worked out between us and MU, if we're going to be reimbursing them for that or if it's going to be paid separately. But you guys, MU is working on finalizing the contract for that work.
Royal Drive construction, which again is that right there is the signal and the drive itself.
Yeah, so
I can speak to the signal. I don't know exactly where we are on the design for the road yet, but we don't have the final design for the road.
So for the signal, same question. Is that going to be kind of that whatever? I don't know the right word.
That'll be a brand new signal. I'm not sure exactly what their detection plan is. Specifically, it's not going to be loops, so it's going to be some kind of video type of detection with cameras.
Okay.
But that's a brand new signal. We're just going to wait and construct it when we're a little bit further down the line on getting the road done.
Yeah.
We don't need a signal up there that's just bagged or green all the time.
No, I got you. And then this is a probably dumb question, and I feel bad for even asking it, but it's my job to ask dumb ones. You said developer on funding that, as a partnership. I'm asleep at the wheel. Who's the developer for Royal Drive Phase 2 and that whole area?
Well, Royal Drive Phase 2 doesn't have a developer. Royal Drive Phase 2 would be something that we would do, and it would have to be designed. And again, that's part of where we know we need one to get production and take care of that. Now again, one of the things that Royal Drive Phase 1 is doing, it's in between two different monster pieces of
That's the one with the developer.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but the part that's in front of the FedEx building right now, we have someone who is very interested in, well down the line of making something really positive happen. Mary Beth works with him all the time, and part of what we told him is that's part of what our responsibility would be. Phase 2 is what we really truly feel like needs to be done. That's why we're talking to schools and a lot of different people to see how we can get that done as quickly as we can, especially with another school on the west side of town.
All right, I'm tracking. That was my brain didn't connect there. So,
yep. Sunshine Oaks. Again, all the yellow right here is in process and funded.
I think this is great. Yeah. The only thing, and maybe we have, man, if we could advertise this a lot more. And communicate out there what is coming and what we're doing with it, because I can't tell you the amount of times I've gotten texts like, hey, what's going on the Greenway? What's going on over there? And I'm like, I don't know.
It's pretty neat, and I think we will. We have, actually we have our second communication specialist is coming online in 1st of February, and there's a couple of big projects that we're going to start them with, this being one of them with what's coming.
This is amazing with just taking this and doing this with it.
Yeah.
Paul, can you tell them about the tournament?
Yeah, so on the disc golf side, one of the things, there's tournaments every weekend, but one of the biggest tournaments that they have is a Memorial Day tournament. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they have different levels of professional, intermediate, Paul could play, and somebody else, and so, they're looking to have at least 2 of the rounds here this year. And so And then it'll be one of many, but especially with that big tournament, which brings a couple hundred people for each one of those rounds.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that'll bring a lot of publicity
Oh, yeah.
with it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other things, and I've got to talk, the Visitors and Convention Bureau, folks that are doing the sports there, adding this course gives them the ability to go after some now regional and national tournaments with some of the other courses that they have in town. From what they tell me, Bronze Springs disc golf course was the 9th disc golf course built in the nation in, I want to say, the 60s. The Redstone Arsenal has a course that's there. Montesano has one, but they're everywhere. Indian Creek has one. But because of the length of this and the ability to stretch it out, they feel like this gives them one more course that would allow them to do the things that they want to do. Okay. Waltrana Gillespie, kind of the same thing, Michael, getting folks across there. Yep.
I do have one question about that. Is the timing going to be changed for that or adjusted? Because I cannot tell you how many times Ron has said that he'll go to Asbury for work after school traffic, and he'll sit, and there's no traffic going north and south, and he just has to wait.
I will second that. The east-west traffic timing is horrible.
I get more emails on this particular line.
Yes.
Improved detection is part of the project.
I'm sorry?
Improved detection is part of the project.
Okay, so will it be timing still, or is it going to actually pick up vehicles?
Well, a lot of times we kind of do a little bit of both.
Okay.
So during certain times of day, it'll be all detection. Or other times of day, it'll be on timers, and those things can be changed. But the way it is right now, we don't have a lot of flexibility with what's there now.
Okay.
So by updating the detection technology, we'll actually have some flexibility to be able to make those changes.
And do you have just a ballpark month? Because he's going to ask me about this week or next week.
Okay.
Does it have to go into the mid-year budget?
No, it's funded. It's funded. It has to do with.
He was having to get it rebid. Remember, because it came in way high.
Oh,
So
is part of that?
Redesign is that collaborative.
There's a little bit of overlap between the transmission project and this project, and so it would be good if we could get both of the contractors together before we move forward. Now, that might not happen. It might not work out, and we might have to go start this one before, but it would be better if we could get those collaborative.
I think it would be critical.
But GIMU is moving with purpose on it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Redesign is that collaborative.
There's a little bit of overlap between the transmission project and this project, and so it would be good if we could get both of the contractors together before we move forward. Now, that might not happen. It might not work out, and we might have to go start this one before, but it would be better if we could get those collaborative.
I think it would be critical.
But GIMU is moving with purpose on it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Redesign is that collaborative.
There's a little bit of overlap between the transmission project and this project, and so it would be good if we could get both of the contractors together before we move forward. Now, that might not happen. It might not work out, and we might have to go start this one before, but it would be better if we could get those collaborative.
I think it would be critical.
But GIMU is moving with purpose on it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
And it was going to go
South.
yes.
This one says Gillespie. Elderbrook to Gillespie, so that's north.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The elementary school, yes, is north of Gillespie, yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't have got there anyway.
We got there anyway.
I didn't know where now.
There are some drainage aspects of this mulch project that we could come back and do at another time. It's just that the way this kind of
Sounds scary.
morphed from an actual lane all the way down to what it ended up being, and the cost of that didn't make any sense. So that's
Okay. No, that's cool. But put that in, like, to check out. Here.
I'm going to ask you about that later.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you, Ms. Renee. I think we're back to probably where you are here with Mary Beth's comprehensive plan in the One House.
Yep, we kind of skipped around some.
We did, but I
Kind of
appreciate you
merged
skip around.
things, yeah.
You said Wine House?
One.
Yeah. Why, since we have a minute, why would you care? Is it because the bid?
Whichever you want. Okay. We're skipping everything.
All right, whatever you prefer. So we'll talk about the Farley Lawn House.
By the river?
Pardon?
They're down by the river?
No, just
Farley.
Oh, okay. So as you may recall, this property, which consists of 1.4 acres, was donated to the city in the fall of 2022. And when it was donated, the developer who's doing the project behind City Hall and to the north of this property also gave us $100,000 towards property improvements. The interest on the part of the city was to see about renovating this house, preserving it, and potentially creating a Madison museum, a historic period home in Madison. The house on the property consists of about 2,500 square feet. So what you may recall, council approved us hiring an architect to do some preliminary work. We also got approval from council to have all of the debris moved out. Where's the remote? And have the debris removed from the home. And one of the reasons why we're interested in this property, it's one of the oldest houses in Madison. There's probably about 6 other houses that predate this house, but a couple of them have been significantly altered. This house hasn't been altered quite as much. As you can see from that sign, the thought is that the core of the house was built in the late 1800s. That front porch is definitely a craftsman style, so that was probably added on in the early 1900s. But that was sort of the interest in the property. So as I mentioned, we hired somebody to clear out the house. It was in quite a shambles. The picture on the far left is taken from the existing dining room, looking into the living room, and then you can see the kitchen. Those 3 rooms are in pretty good shape, but you can see the front bedroom, which is the master bedroom downstairs. There is a roof leak above, and it's destroyed the floor and the ceiling a bit and one of the walls. But the fireplace that's there is beautiful and a great piece, and we'll preserve that. So anyway, the house has been cleaned out. One of the other things that we've done is there were a lot of papers in the house, and those have been taken out, and I'll talk about those in a minute. So the architect was hired to come in and do detailed drawings of the house, take photographs of the house, and prepare a master plan. And one of the things that we want to accomplish for this work session tonight is to get your input on the master plan. So the house itself, this is the floor plan. The existing rooms of the house are labeled as we think about this as potentially being used as a museum and trying to make use of the existing home. You can see in green where I've added in potential reuses of rooms. So this part of the house was right here, was added on in the 60s when Mrs. Farley took on a boarder, and so it's not historical. So this room is actually the kitchen for the boarder. This could be converted into the visitor entrance, gift shop, that type of a thing. There's place for an exhibit space. putting storage upstairs, an office upstairs. So fairly easy, I think, to convert it. There's an existing bathroom right here, which could become the ADA public bathroom. So from a floor plan standpoint, fairly simple, but it's an old home. There's no air conditioning. There's lots of work to be done. And as you can tell from these pictures, there was wallpaper added, and the kitchen was redone in the, I think it was like the early 2000s when Mr. Wan moved in. So there's a lot of work to bring it back to historical integrity. I mentioned we took all of the documents that were in the house, and I spent, I don't know how many weekends on the porch at my house because I didn't want to bring them in because they were really dirty, going through all of this. So I've got about 6 boxes of historical documents and sitting in my office now. But the reason that these are important is if, you know, you want to keep this house and make it a museum, these pieces kind of help to tell a story and have exhibits. And so I just put a smattering of them up there. On the upper left, there's a war ration coupon book from World War II. The Farleys ran the mill down on Mill Road. So in the bottom left, you can see one of their gin receipts from the mill. In the upper right, there's some toilet paper, which I'm trying to date, but I haven't been able to yet, but it's pretty old. Next to that is face powder. It was a woman's makeup that was popular in the 50s. And then there's a package of Carter's Little Liver Pills from 1942, which was some of the mail. So fortunately, they kept a lot of different things. There are receipts from some of the stores in downtown from the 1930s. And a lot of those receipts kind of tell you how they lived, right? And so there's lots of different tacks you could take with exhibits, whether it's about World War II, agriculture, a day in the life, etc. So anyway, this is sitting down in my office if you ever want to peruse it. It's all in plastic bags because it's all kind of dirty. But anyway, it was very interesting kind of going back. One of the other things that's in there is almost weekly letters from William Wan to Sarah when she went away to college. She was in Howard College, and he wrote her letters all the time, and she kept them all. So kind of a lot of fun things.
And that's where you can get maybe the Preservation Society involved with this.
Sure, yes. Yes, and I will, just as a general note on that, I've talked with a number of the people who are interested in history in Madison, and they're all very excited about the prospect of this project. So that brings us to the master plan. So the consultant was hired to prepare a master site plan. This is, I guess, the 4th iteration of that plan. The plan's been reviewed by staff, by Corey, by the fire department, by engineering, by planning, and then it's also been to the Historic Preservation Commission. And just to walk you through the site plan, and you do have it in front of you, the brighter light green circles represent existing trees. The darker green would be new vegetation. The only structure that's existing on the plan is the house itself right here. So this building are just concepts. The parking is proposed, and this is a bus turnout area with walking trails. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. The concept for the museum is that we're thinking it's a small structure. It can't accommodate a lot of people, but you could have a school group come through. We needed to have a place for a bus to come to drop the children off. The fire department required a turnaround for their fire trucks. We wanted to minimize the amount of pavement that we put on the property to kind of build in some flexibility. So those were some of the things that drove the site plan. With walking trails. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. The concept for the museum is that we're thinking it's a small structure. It can't accommodate a lot of people, but you could have a school group come through. We needed to have a place for a bus to come to drop the children off. The fire department required a turnaround for their fire trucks. We wanted to minimize the amount of pavement that we put on the property to kind of build in some flexibility. So those were some of the things that drove the site plan. With walking trails. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. The concept for the museum is that we're thinking it's a small structure. It can't accommodate a lot of people, but you could have a school group come through. We needed to have a place for a bus to come to drop the children off. The fire department required a turnaround for their fire trucks. We wanted to minimize the amount of pavement that we put on the property to kind of build in some flexibility. So those were some of the things that drove the site plan. And so forth. So how can you get better usage out of the property, right? So having the exhibit space, having a pavilion where you could do different things. I'm going to just talk a little bit about phasing. You know, if the council moves forward with this project, it would make sense to do the house, to do the parking and the bus turnout, which are all the pink area, in the first phase. But that exhibit gallery space, the pavilion, those are things that could come at some point in the future or not. You know, plans do change. So in thinking about the master plan and presenting it to our Historic Preservation Commission, they wanted a fence along the back of the property, so this plan is calling out for a fence to be put there. They wanted the walkway. So this walkway right here originally was being shown here, and they suggested moving it out here. It does a couple of things. It helps maybe protect the trees so we don't have to worry about losing them. The walkways don't have to be concrete. They could be, you know, some type of fine gravel, that type of thing. And we relocated the handicap parking to where it's being shown now. It had been shown on the other side of the aisle, of the drive aisle. One of the other comments from one of the commissioners on the Historic Commission was instead of having this as an open lawn area, to consider putting a building there, another house, and you know, we don't have any money for that, and so that's like you know, maybe you do that down the road, but you know, in talking with Corey, you know, we kind of prefer the idea of keeping that open. It gives you more flexibility in terms of how you might use that property. But again, plans are made, plans change. So I mentioned moving the entrances shown into what would be the visitor area to the back of the building, and then building a future courtyard. So this is the site plan that would love to get your input on. And then the other piece that I wanted to talk to you about, and I didn't hand this out because I wanted to talk with you about this plan first.
While you're passing those out, and Connie thought, and I thought of it at the same time, I'm concerned about if you do fine gravel, if that would be ADA compliant, if somebody could get through with a wheelchair. So maybe we could look at like an asphalt or something that we do on the multi-use path.
Yes. Okay. And I just mentioned that only from the perspective.
Sure. Yeah.
I mentioned that only from the perspective that there's some options out there, right? And of course, we would need to make sure, you know, it might be that this is the ADA path.
Right.
But this doesn't have to be an ADA path, right? If you come up here, you know, so we would look at
flexibility.
Right.
My suggestion would be just make Dab look at it, because they're going to have a lot more ideas and input than, you know, we would know.
Right. And this is obviously a very conceptual plan. So the handout I just gave you, the first couple sections kind of review what I've talked about. And I should mention one of the other tasks that the architect did, they had a structural engineer as part of their team, and the structural engineer did do I'll say a brief assessment of looking at the building structurally. So if you look at the budget table at the bottom, the developer again gave us $100,000. We've encumbered a little over $23,000 at this time for the trash removal, the architect to do this plan, the structural, and we've also had an asbestos survey done. In looking at our immediate next steps, we would want to retain the consultant, the architectural consultant, to actually work on a specific interior floor plan, and also to work through what the skin and the exterior of the building will be. And that's important because the roof needs to be replaced, and we need to make sure we're putting the right material type roof on. And then we want the structural engineer to come in and give us very specific recommendations as to what fixes are to deal with structural pieces, and then also looking at weatherization to seal the windows. So Gerald has been working on this as well and has gotten quotes for roof replacement and to seal the windows. And so you can see that our immediate next step cost would be about $56,700, which is still, we've got budget for. So if, you know, you're generally inclined to do that, obviously we bring contracts to a formal council meeting, and that would leave us with about $20,000 left. What expenditure of that would do was, you know, define an interior floor plan, pick out what the right exterior would be, the right roof, allow us to repair the roof and weatherize the house better. The piece that would be missing, if you turn it over, for an immediate fix is that master bedroom in the front where the floor has been destroyed, and the front wall needs to be repaired because of the water damage. And our estimate for that is about $55,000. So we're about $35,000 short of being able to do that piece. We can certainly, if with your authorization, go forward with fixing the roof and sealing up the windows and hold off on this, but if we're trying to further preserve the structure, this would be your recommendation. Mm-hmm. Below that on this page, you can see there's a whole host of other tasks, right, that will have to happen to make this project go forward, and it includes looking at, you know, getting quotes to put in air conditioning and mini splits, repairing the porches, doing all of the work to make it a museum, et cetera. So this is going to be a fairly long project. There's going to be a lot of more costs involved. One of the things we'd also be looking at is, are there grants available to assist with this from a historic structure perspective? And in talking with our architect, you know, we're very mindful that we don't want to do any work that then would disqualify the house from getting a grant. So we need to be very thoughtful, if you decide to move forward with this, about how we proceed. And looking at the operational parameters, I've kind of outlined kind of what Corey and I have talked a little bit about, but that will change. I think that there would definitely be a fundraising element as part of this, in addition to grants and just the implementation. So this is a project if the city decides to continue to pursue it and take it on. But our first step is, you know, getting a master plan. One of the things the master plan does is it helps to establish a vision that the community can rally around, get behind. It helps with fundraising. It certainly is important if you're going to go after a grant. And so I need your input on the master plan, and if you have any comments now besides the one I heard, or if you want to email me later. And then we kind of generally need to know if we should proceed forward with these immediate next steps that, you know, we've identified basically for items B and C under immediate next steps.
Well, I think it sounds fabulous. I mean, a huge part of Madison is the historical aspect. I think we would have a huge amount of community support. Be great to get some grants. I was thinking about that, and then you said it. So I just think it sounds great. It's an economic development piece where maybe somebody wants to have a small wedding. They don't want a huge wedding. It's very scenic. I'm on board. I mean, I think it sounds great.
It's your district. Any input?
No. So have they, when the structural people came and looked at it, have they been under the house, or did they literally just walk in the house?
No, they've been under the house. I'm not aware that there's any issues with the house not being on the foundation, but and I don't have the structural report in front of me. I don't think I saw a red flag where that it was not doable, and I don't know that, Gerald, if you recall seeing anything that, but I mean, there's going to be, you know, costs and all of that. So this next phase, if we go that next phase, is to really get into the specifics and the nitty-gritty of it. And at that point, you know, obviously we'll be back to council and say, okay, this is what we've got.
Okay. So did they find the well? Is there a well on that property?
There's an old well.
Jimmy found the well.
Well, it's really,
I'm sorry.
It's significant because,
It's right here.
okay, so it's exposed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, naturally, I've done a few of these.
Yeah. We're gonna hire
I live
you.
in one of them, so
Yeah.
I know kind of where this goes.
Yeah.
So it's good that that's not under the house. I'm concerned about it's a pantyhose theory. You know, this is the neck, and it's going to spread.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
That's just what it.
I don't know that reference.
I haven't heard that. That's a catechism.
Ricky's
Not touching it.
Ricky's actually the one that came up with that.
Okay.
So,
yeah, no doubt these projects can be expensive, and you know, again, not at the point where we can even guesstimate what that cost is. And so it is a project where you're going to kind of go incrementally and then check in with council, decide if you want to keep going or not.
Well, I mean, I think once you get started, you have to continue. And I can tell you that house is worth saving. I actually looked at that house, and whoever cleaned it up, congratulations. I mean, y'all got a deal on that, because I can tell you.
Yeah. It was a process.
That was that's a deal, because I did not like it. But I naturally I love the project, and I'd love to see it go forward. But I think everybody needs to understand and be prepared that that $100,000 is probably going to get us a roof on it and get it in a condition where it can stay for some time and not be expensive. But if you don't do that, then you will lose that house.
The $100,000 does not include the front bedroom.
Right. It does not. We're short about $35,000.
So the front bedroom, if you put a new roof on it, does that stop the damage from happening?
It'll stop the water from coming in, and the $100,000 includes sealing the windows, so that will help in the front. We still have to worry about exposure coming in up from the floor, and so I haven't talked with Gerald if, you know, there's something that, you know, we lay on the floor just to minimize. What I want to do is protect the fireplace, because that is just that's a really nice piece.
If we put on the roof, what else do we have to do to kind of like stabilize the structure so that it doesn't get worse from here?
Fund an additional $35,000 so we could take care of the.
No, I mean, so I think before we go any further, particularly, I mean, there's a lot of assessments that need to be done here, but I can tell you the roof is the main thing. Get those windows secured is the next thing. And for now, I mean, literally a piece of plywood over that floor and keep everything out.
Yeah.
Do the assessments and then figure out where you go, because, you know, when you go to tear that floor out, that's when you start getting into structure. Well, you know, if you get into the floor joist and then you're into a pillar and then you're into this, that's that quote pantyhose talking about. It just it continues to go. So you just, I mean, to me, if that $100,000 covers that, then let's do that. If it doesn't, whatever it takes to do that is what we need to pay.
Let me ask this, where are we with council special project funds for these smaller pieces of the project? Because I don't know, Roger isn't here, but I don't know how much we have spent so far this year, but we haven't bought an ornament. I think we
bought, I mean, so in this fiscal year,
we haven't spent anything.
Well, and I would say also because, I mean, if we go forward with this next step, it'll take the architect a period of time to figure out the right materials. I mean, it'll be a little bit before we're even going to be in a position to be able to do the roof. And again, being mindful of not disqualifying us for going after grants. So I don't see trying to redo the floor very soon, even though ideally we would get it done sooner rather than later. Just practically speaking, I don't. I mean, it will be several months at least.
Sure.
And so we may look at doing some plywood or some kind of interim, temporary solution.
Would this be an opportunity to reach out to the Historical Society and the Preservation Committee and get their financial resources involved and their networking ability involved with doing this? I just think of Debbie Overcash and how she has just, done such a great job with Christmas capers and raising all sorts of funds.
We may do that. I think it's, I guess we want to, proceed very cautiously because, again, it's a big undertaking, as Teddy is well aware, and wanting to make sure that this is something the city's really going to take on before we go that route.
Mary Beth, on the structural specifics, is that where you're trying to really, and look, you and both Teddy, I mean, I've never done this, but I mean, is that where you're really trying to go down the rabbit hole and figure out?
Yeah, I mean, so again,
what the issues could be?
Yeah, again,
they've identified, I mean, the first piece of work included about $5,000 worth of the structural engineer going in and kind of, I'll say, doing general assessment. This next phase would be coming in with specific recommendations of how to address the issues, and then we can figure out what those would cost. So we have I'll say, a general understanding of where our trouble areas lie. It's just trying to understand how we actually fix them.
Did they identify any structural stuff?
There were some things, but again, I mean, not like the house is going to fall down or I shouldn't be walking in it or
joists or something like that.
Yeah, I think in the master bedroom, that's the only area where we've had damage, but the rest of the house, not any issues.
Did they look at the wiring?
No, they're not doing the wiring. So the wiring and the mechanical hasn't been evaluated yet.
And that would probably all be brand new.
Well, the house was occupied by Mr. Wan up until 2006, 2007. And in fact, when we acquired the house, the power was still on. I mean, the microwave was still working. So it's not like it's been sitting empty for 50 years. Granted, it was neglected, but there was still power.
No Wi-Fi.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any input on the master plan, or again, if you have any comments? The architect's job is to make any changes to the master plan, and then we close that contract out, if you will. So if you think you might have some comments, it would be good for me to have a sense of when that might be.
Sure.
I think for me, I think the more natural you can make it, less pavement. I've even seen the gravel, or not gravel, but kind of like sand that's got some kind of epoxy mixture, but it still looks natural. That seen up in like Boston, that area and stuff, is real nice.
Okay.
The less blacktop, I think the better.
Okay. Yeah, and this again is more of a layout rather than a materials, but yes.
I like it.
I like it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think go ahead, but I mean, honestly, guys, you need to be prepared for $500,000.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree.
And
Yeah, but it'll be over time as well.
It would be over time, yes.
Everything's over time. It's a question of how long is the time?
Right.
This will be over a longer period.
Right. And yes, and understand there's a lot of other need for the money, and in talking with the members of the historical community, I've tried to manage those expectations. So
Keep doing that.
you'll see. All right, thank you for that input. What do you have next? You were going to give us an update on the comprehensive. Yes. So I got an updated schedule from our consultant this week, and they apologized profusely for being so behind schedule. They're planning on getting us the completed draft chapters by the end of this month. And staff will be reviewing those in February and then re-engaging with the advisory committee. We'll probably do a pre-meet in February with the committee and then review the draft with the committee in March. We're anticipating going back out for full public engagement in April and May. Looking at Planning Commission adoption potentially as early as June, and then as you may recall, comp plans are adopted by the Planning Commission. The council can endorse them or acknowledge them, and so we would envision bringing it to the council for that action potentially in July.
When would council get to look at it?
Well, when we put it out for public review, that would be...
we would not see it before the public?
Well, if you would like to see it, you may, certainly. Obviously, we created an advisory committee, right, to act on behalf of the community, and that advisory committee has been guiding this process, right? They've signed off on what the future development projections would be. They've signed off on our approach on transportation, all of those kinds of things.
To change it, I just don't want to be blindsided in a public meeting.
Understand. So one of the items that we have on the schedule is doing a work session with the City Council. We can do that work session with you sooner rather than later if that's your brother's for that.
Maybe we could do it in March as the same time as the advisory committee. Would that work?
I think it might be a good idea to have us get the input from the advisory committee first.
Okay.
And so I'll look at the schedule and see how we could make that work.
Great.
Okay. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
And then the only other topic we had at the end, but you kind of covered it at the beginning, was the animal shelter plans.
I think we're good.
Laura?
Yes, ma'am.
Everything you heard?
Very good.
Okay, then, if you all are...
And I voted yes for Teddy on that one.
Okay. All right. Is everyone happy with everything?
Oh, I'm very happy, very, very happy.
Okay, very good then.
All right, motion to adjourn?
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Of Madison Hospital, and the impact that it continues to make for our community is huge.
Which leads me now to this. And when we're all here and the excitement that continues to build in our community. A pleasure to celebrate Madison and Madison Tour.
So how exciting to look back at Madison, to understand that we stand on the shoulders of so many people who have helped us find solutions to our growth problem. But we're not done. And it's a call to action for everyone out there to continue to work hard to fill in the gaps to make Madison, Alabama the strongest city it possibly can be.
So we'll talk a little bit more in a minute about who helped us accomplish and do those videos. But what I recognize when you